Hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Elgard. I'm from UI and I'll be your chair for today. Before we begin, I just want to do a quick roll call to make sure everyone is here. Is opening government here?
We are here.
Sorry, opening government, are you here?
We are here.
Maybe we can use. Yep. Okay, cool. You're complete, yeah?
Yep.
Right. Opening opposition, are you here?
Here and complete.
Cool. Closing government, are you here?
Complete.
Okay. Closing opposition.
Here and complete.
Okay. Right. Because this is a live stream round, I just want to remind everyone to please rename yourselves in accordance to the format that is given. That is to say, your institution as well as your name. Please make sure that we follow that. Want to make sure pens. Is pens Lina also your device or is it someone else? It's yours.
Yes.
As a backup, yeah. Okay, maybe just put in the word backup there, to make sure it's clear. Okay, with that out of the way, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Elgard from UI and I'll be your chair. Please refer to me as part of the adjudication panel. Yeah, maybe we can just go down the line alphabetically. Kabio, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Biontika. Call me Bio, or gender pronoun she, her. Thank you.
Awesome. Feli?
Hello, everyone. This is Feli, she, her. Good luck for the round.
All right. Arik?
Hello, everyone. I'm Arik. Pronounce is he, him. Good luck for the round.
Cool. Shafa?
Yeah, my name is Shafa from Universitas Lampung. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Before we begin, several I guess housekeeping rules. First of all is please everyone time yourself. We will be Feliani will be putting timestamp in the chat, but it's important for you to time yourself so that you don't go above 7:20. After 7:20, all of the adjudicators will stop writing and it will not be counted as part of the deliberation, so it will not affect the decision at all. Second, please respect other people's POI. That is to say, it's important for you to state your POI preference before you speak, whether it's through the chat, unmuting, whatever. Please, if it is not stated, assume it's from the chat. And important to also note as well that POI is highly encouraged in NUDC as a form of engagement. It can flip a closed debate, so please respect that. 3 is to ensure that you guys maintain, ensure the debate is equitable. Don't be mean, don't be condescending, don't overgeneralize, just treat others as you would be treated. And lastly, if there is connection issue, please state in the group or the teammate can just say it. We will try to do what we can, maybe turn off the camera. But because this is live streamed, everyone is encouraged to open up your camera, judges as well, to ensure visibility. With that out of the way, we welcome opening government's PM here. Opening government, are you here?
Yes. Anyway, if you guys want to POI, please unmute yourself. I will not check the chat box. I will take POI before putting on. So I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay. Talking about romantic relationship, what do we want from it? But we think like we basically want a good relationship where you can get support from your partner. But it is important, right? Because sometimes, partners or couples take it for granted just because they want to support their partner. They're justifying the fact that they have to lie to their partner just so that it will make them feel better about themselves or whatsoever. We think that this is really bad and toxic for the relationship. We're going to prove further on that. But before going further, let's talk about what exactly particular honesty means. And basically, this is like, when your partner says things it should be based on facts, or at least they have to be having the reason to say that. For example, they're feeling their partner is not romantic, for example, or they are too harsh, or they don't understand them because they, their partner do not want to listen more to them. So it is more likely for them telling straightforward to their partner, hey, actually you are not romantic, I expect something else, and it will lead to discussion. This is different from verbally abusive. This is important because if you are verbally abusive, you will have the intention to belittle your partners, like mocking them. So radical honesty is different from verbally abusive, right? This is basically saying the bitter truth that might be uncomfortable, but this is the objective truth that just to support your partner and for their best, right? So in our case, we're going to say that we're going to support this norm, meaning that we're going to normalize normalizing this bitter truth telling, right? Because in status quo, you see like people demonizing partners that are radically honest, telling that they actually don't love their partner because they keep on they have too little support because they don't support them, for example. We think like this is important to normalize it by educating young people. For example, radically honest does not mean that you are intentionally hurting your partner, for example, but rather to objectively give input for your partner as for the sake of the relationship itself to be healthy. We're going to prove you two things. Number one, why this is unreal, this will create unrealistic expectation and therefore toxic relationship. And secondly, we're going to prove to you why it's going to create a better support in our side of the house and how it leads to healthy discussion. So number one, let's talk about how it will create toxic relationship, right? We think like in status quo, it is too much, romanticization of how, for example, people are expecting, sweet talks from their partners, for example, or like, keeping themselves up to the 24/7, because if not means like you don't care to me anymore because you don't call me every day, or because you don't, tell me what you're doing, because this is very problematic, right? Because like people realistically have their own agenda in their life. Just because you don't chat your partners, for example, does not mean they don't love you, but maybe because they have other things that they have to do at work, for example, or there's urgent thing that they have to do in the meeting that they cannot they cannot talk to you. And this is important because nowadays, like youngsters in Instagram, people are sharing their love stories, for example. So like it creating the norms that, hey, if good partners means you always put 100% attention to your partner and never leave you behind, etc. So we think like we think like there should be a moment where like this youngster to be more realistic to handle romantic relationships, right? We don't want just because, like I mentioned before, not call them any day translates not liking them anymore, but rather we want them to further analyze for example the context. For example, oh, maybe my partner is still busy at work, and if they still feel that something's still up, probably when they meet, for example, we would rather think that it is better for them to like really talk about it, like what happened yesterday, you didn't update me, and that's how the truth will be revealed. Like if either one, your partner really busy at work, or two, you can analyze and finally understand, oh, actually the reason it does not make sense because if you have do some busy at work, but why then your friend does not say the same, or like your Instagram you're showing in other stories in some other place. So it is a lot better rather than just interrupting, just sugarcoat and etc. So that's how we think that this is really problematic. And secondly, why do we think this will create healthy discussions? Like I told you before, how the social media and society portray how relationship should look like. We think like this is important for your partner to want to know what you are expecting, and for you to know what to expect from your partner, right? Because if you're only following the romanticization of the portrayal in society, what's most likely to happen is you're going to put unrealistic expectations from your partner, right? We feel like this is problematic, right? Or for example, if you are being too harsh to your, too harsh to people, and your partner just because they want to comfort you, for example, your partner do not say the truth, and finally you find it really difficult to deal with people because no one, point out your weakness, and you're always in these comfortable situations where everyone says you're fine, but you're still in the same problem. We think like the only one who can, safely refer this issue is basically the person that is close to you, and in this case, is your partner. We think like this is exclusive. Probably the opposition might say, hey, you just want to get the input from people. It's, coworkers is enough, or your friends is enough. Why exclusively from partners? We think like this is important, right? Because yes, your colleagues or your friends can, address your personality issues, for example, but they cannot, there is still barrier, for example, for friends to talk too deep on that, or even colleagues to talk too deep on that because they don't want to hurt you. But we think like, as if you are a romantic partner, there is incentive for you or your partner, for example, to give input so you can be potentially a better partner, for example, because the goal is you want that, your partner to be the partner for the long term in the future, and therefore you want the best for them. So it is better to, talk, directly what is the issue, and we should talk about it, right? We think like even if in the worst case, for example, it is more likely to create conflicts or arguments in our side of the house. We think that it is okay, even if it's in a healthy way, right? Because at least like all these problems are trying to be addressed by these partners instead of be left behind that in your side of the house, right? What's most likely to happen, even if it's a bitter, at least we know the truth from our romantic feedback to those things.
Thank you so much for that speech. To open the case from opposition, we welcome Leader of Opposition here.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
No specific gender pronouns, just call me by my name. Your I3D chat box. I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. We believe that the word that OG is trying to picturize, and the word that OG is trying to create in behalf of supporting the norm of encouraging the use of radical honesty in romantic relationship is not at all realistic to what really people are feeling in terms of relationship, and what really people are going through in a relationship, and what really the people needed in a relationship that they are going through. And our burden of proof is that what we stand for is not lie as a whole, because we believe that dishonesty is not always a bad thing. Because in a romantic relationship, sometimes being dishonest is actually what people needed to keep the sanity and the sustainability of a complex emotion that human had on a relationship itself. White lies and sugarcoating is an inseparable action to keep a relationship going and keep a relationship sustained in the process. Now, what is the form of white lies? What is the form of white lies? And OG never give a statement on what really is the picturization of white lies in a relationship. This could be a person A dating person B, and A wants to call B, but B said that they have a task that they should do, but so they are unavailable, but they are actually having a me time, like watching TV, play games, and etc. Or it could be person A dating person B, and A is lying because that they are not taking any more works, when in fact they are, in order to actually support person B or sustain their life or sustain their relationship in a whole. And there are one thing that we would like to underline in this debate is that in a romantic relationship, people came from different background, which means that their perspective are different towards some acts and or a certain condition, and we cannot just assume that all people and all couples that is currently in relationship have the same kinds of background and are dealing with the same kinds of issues and are going through the same kinds of process. Now, before I'm moving on to my argument, I'm going to take QI from Melo. Oh, sorry, I thought that was DPI. Sorry. Moving on to my arguments now. So now, first, I believe that this is a way to actually deal with this belief or trust issues that people actually are suffering or having in their life. Because notice that not all people of the society are capable in practicing radical honesty. We are not framing that all people have these kinds of ability to actually be honest to all their surrounding, or be completely honest to even their friends, even their parents, even their families, and to their partners, because not all people have the same form of trust towards everyone, and people have different standards of trust towards each other. And encouraging all people in relationship to practice this, to actually practice radical honesty, would be very harming toward them, as people would just believe that, oh, when I have a relationship with other people, then I have to be completely honest, because notice that you might not have the same capability as other person, because you might be suffering from different issues, you might be suffering from different things that people are going through, because perhaps person A is going through a much more better life, but person B is going to be going through a much more worse life than person A and person B, because of this encouragement of you having to be practicing this radical honesty. You would just be thinking that, okay, this is the best way possible, even though it is not the best way possible to actually be in a relationship. Now, what is this kinds of problem? Perhaps person might be dealing with problems like past relationship. Perhaps people are dealing with failed relationship in the past, in which it became very scarring for them. It became very crucial for them in when they are trying to take another relationship or dealing with another relationship, because they have problems before when they were in a relationship before. And then second, the kinds of trouble would be personal life. And what is this personal life? What is this the form of personal life? This personal life would be a form like perhaps mental illness that people are dealing with, like anxiety, depression, and PTSD. These forms of mental illness is making these people not really having the same capability as others to have this form of trust towards their partner, in which they become very pushed by their mental illness. And it is not their fault, of course, because they are going through a problem and they are trying to deal with it. And you encouraging them to actually be honest to your partner are actually very harming, because first they are dealing with their mental illness already, and you're encouraging them to actually be completely honest, in which you are damaging their mental much worse, and you are making them suffering through a worse life that they are already suffering from. And then second, it could be economical problem that they are suffering. Perhaps they are not really having the best economical like their partners, and they are not being honest in order to actually not making their partner feel burdened by their presence. And then the last kinds of problem with the families, perhaps they are having problems with their families, and they don't really want person B or their partner to really also suffer from the problem that they are currently dealing with. And I think this is something that this is a problem, is something that's really making relationship go to a downhill. Before I move on, POI from Oji.
I think that when you have a mental illness, for example, then you throw everything towards your partner, I think your partner is going to encourage you, is going to support you. Under the house, you are going to undergo all the life all alone without sharing the story behind it. Explain what's better.
Sorry, not all of your partners or not all people are a psychologist, because people might be having different kinds of opinion, and it could be very harming. So that's why when you are dealing with this, you have to deal with your problem first, because your significant other might not have the best solution, because of course not people really have the same kinds of mentality and have the same kinds of view. And then moving on to my second argument, relationship is built on a form of trust in between each other, and all people have weaknesses. Showing all of the weaknesses, especially when you started a relationship, would be very hard. And I mean, it is possible, but the likelihood of it occurring is actually much more lower, because it's a normal conduct for people to judge someone on their virtues, not on their vices. When you met someone who do bad things and it is the first thing that they talk about to you, you are not going, and if you're not committing the same thing, you would not feel relatable at all to that person, and you would not sympathize with that person at all. And it's still not something that is normalized in the society, and that's why from our side of the house we are proud to oppose. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that speech. To close the case from OG, we welcome DPM here. DPM?
Yeah. So PLY through chat, I'm going to start my speech. Just unmute yourself if you want to do PLY. So I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Perhaps I think that the biggest problem coming from the opening opposition is that when they say that not all people could deal with their past problem, not all secret that could be revealed to your partner, for example, maybe you have mental illness, for example. They don't really answer my PLY saying that when you talk to your partner about the problem that you face, for example, I think that they are not going to ignore you, right? They are going to support you. They are going to encourage you and maybe give you some advice in order to face your problem. Under your side of the house, this kind of thing will never happen. You are going to undergo it all alone, and you are going to feel that your partner never support you. They are never going there in order to help you, for example, and that is your guilty because you never share it to them. And maybe the reason why you get mental health problem, for example, that is because you always follow the demand of your partner and you never tell that in the very first place, right? But the response to this, they're saying that not all people could understand your problem. We think that the prerequisite for you in order to have a sustainable relationship is that the acceptance, right? If they couldn't accept your problem in the very first place, means that you are unable to live with them in a very long time, for example. Then instead of just undergoing life with someone who are unable to accept your current life, it is better for you in order to leave them and looking for other people who might be has the relatable experience with you, for example. Because considering the fact that you do not want to undergo like a 1-2 day relationship, right? You want to undergo a very long time relationship with them, a sustainable relationship. That is why you need to find someone that is really right for you. What I'm going to talk in my speech is that why this radical honesty norm is necessary, and in terms of how it prolongs the relationship and how it prevents the toxic relationship that may happen under the rest of the house. How it's going to prolong the relationship? We believe that the prerequisite for you to have sustainable relationship is to have trust to each other, right? We believe that radical honesty is necessary for that. How? Number one, radical honesty means that you show the truth even if it hurts. When your couple, for example, treats you like the couple goes standard in the social media, for example, like always posting all of your story in the Instagram, for example, or demand to do routine sleep call, for example, but you personally do not like that kind of treatment or relationship, you need to tell him that you don't like that, right? Or you do not like this kind of relationship standard. You feel uncomfortable towards to the way he touched you, for example, or spreading all the stories in the social media. That's why you need to tell them, you need to tell him or her about your uncomfortability, for example. Why this is what is the benefit from this? We would have more evaluation, for example, towards each other. We would have check and balance before taking any action or the way how we are treating our couple, for example. So there will be an ideal changes that fix the problem that may harm our relationship. On the other side of the house, this never happen because you never tell them, right, what is wrong in this relationship. You are never trying to fix this, and there's no kind of problem solvency that will in order to fix that problem. But number two, it also leads to the more trust in the relationship. How? Something that is we think that trust is something that is very expensive and hard to gain. Not all people could do that, especially towards their own partner, right? Your partner will see you as someone who are trustable, for example, or honest, instead of saying those shit behind them, right? But you prefer to go to discussion, for example. It leads to the you prefer to go to discussion, for example. The question is, what if you hide that truth, for example, and they know it, and they know that problem not from you, like from your friends, for example, because most of the time you need someone in order to talk about this problem, for example. And the problem is, what if that truth known by your couple from other people? We think that it is going to be more harmful comparing to the fact that if you tell the truth by your own self, right? But second, if we play their best case, that is, these people go to the marriage, for example, even if without telling this truth, we think that this truth may be occur when you are getting married, for example. we think that this is going to be bad because your marriage is not going sustainable, right? You never have that kind of evaluation before go to marriage. That is why your marriage is not going to be something that is sustainable, that maybe lead to the divorce, for example, because you never have that evaluation in the very first place before going to marriage. There is no any kind of full consideration. Maybe opening a question, want to say that, oh, it's only happen if your partner is open-minded, for example. Okay, even if your partner is not that open-minded to accept all of your words, for example, that is still necessary. That's exactly the reason why we should tell them that his or her action is not likable by you, for example. We have to educate them that that's not good, for example, in order to always posting something to social media because you don't agree in the very first place in which you think that is important in order to maintain the survivability of this relationship, right? Under opposite side of the house, you guys are just going to be silent, no changing happen, following everything, even if it is hurtful. It is hurtful for both sides. And this argumentation led me into my second argumentation, that how it's going to prevent toxic relationship under the house. We believe that this norm actually occur because of the social media always show us what is ideal relationship should be standardized or should be look like. Meanwhile, it is very different. This type of relationship is very different for every couple, right? Maybe some people like for being sleepful, for example, but some people don't. But if they do not follow that trend, their romantic relationship will be seen as something that is not really romantic, for example. That is why you are going to start to demand all of you, to your partners in order to do the same way. That is bad in order to hide that. To hide that bitter truth, because you keep undergoing the relationship with that kind of relationship. It justifies the action of your partner in always to always demand the same thing that maybe harm you in the very first place, right? Do you never tell them that actually you do not like that action, for example? That is why your partner, you couldn't also blame your partner because you never tell that you do not like that in the very first place, right? That is why, because you never communicated in the very first place, that is going to always just happen again and again. You are going to try so hard in order to please your partner, even if that hurts you in the very first place. We don't think that this is something that is going to be beneficial because under the side of the house, you are going to just hide this bitter honesty in order to fulfill the standard of your partner. Because of those reasons, we are very proud to propose.
Thank you so much for that speech. To close the case from opening opposition, we welcome the LO here.
Right. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
Okay. Right. Let me set up my timer for a while. Okay. I go by she or her. If you want to POI, just chat in the chat box. And I'm going to start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Love is patient. Love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It does not proud. It is not rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. Panels, understand the world that OG give you is the world where there are no patience, there is no kindness, anger and rudeness is encouraged. Therefore, the love is not love. It is a selfish world where two people in a relationship pushing their ego and needs for the sake of their comfort. Yes, being comfortable in a relationship is important, but there's always a beauty, the beauty of understanding and adapting towards our partner in a relationship, and we think in a world of radical truth, this will not exist. Understand that we did not encourage lies as a norm in a world of romantic relationship, but we encourage people to know what is a good lie and what is not, when to lie for good and when to be honest. When I'm going to give a few response to the opening government. When they say that people should talk about their problems to their partner, you cannot assume that your partner are not dealing with problem as well. Not all persons have the ability to be a good listener, because not all people are capable of listening and helping other people problem when they are also currently dealing with their own problem also. Not all people are that strong. Not all people are coming from background that is understanding. Not all people can take everything in some moment, when we know that people facing a different kind of hardship in life, and you can't just confront them anytime you want, just because you want to be comfortable. It's a relationship, it's a partnership. It is being understanding instead of putting your own needs forwards, instead of the needs of the partnership itself. What if, and when they told you, what if they found out about the truth for someone else? Well, we believe that the likelihood of this occurring is low, because you just stated that your partner is someone who's much more trustable. The likelihood on this occurring is very low, because person dealing with mental illness like depression, anxiety, PTSD would have a problem talking about their problems even to their friends also. But even if this happened, we say it will be okay, because in the end, we're not encouraging people to lie, but we want people to know how to manage the time on when to tell the truth, and when it's not, and when it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. Well, if in the end the relationship doesn't work because, well, let's say these people is knowing the truth, let's say, from the other person, we say it will be okay, because in the end there must be a consideration, and we think that being confrontal right away to our partner without having any consideration, because that is what this proposal is trying to give you, is giving you more harm, because in the end it's not going to give people the time and the wiseness of knowing when to talk and when to not. And we think this is very, very important in a relationship, because you stand not alone, you stand with your partner, you want partnership. And sometimes white lies is needed, because you never know what this person has been through. And we think it is very, very cruel to stand in this norm, knowing that people coming from different background, having different thing that is on their head, and having different burden that they has been carrying for their whole life. When you encourage people to be extremely honest, it will look like this. By the time you are not comfortable, you will go tell your partner and tell your discomfort, even though you know well that you have the tendency to be fully angry, on to not be able to control your word, or when or could be look like this too, when you know that they are not on the capability to receive more burden in life that is killing them mentally and physically, you still go and confront them. But in our world, people are more considerate towards their significant other. In the moment when you feel tired in a relationship, or there are certain disagreement, you will not burst out and judge or confront your partner right away. You will take a step back and analyze yourself. When they ask you, are you okay? You will tell them that you're okay when you have discomfort, because you want to be understanding. You want to take a step back and understand yourself first before telling them what you feel. Because people have the tendency to follow their emotion. I think when it comes we think that when it comes to relationship, people are swayed by the emotion and the romantic feeling, the love that they have for each other. Sometimes people lose their rationality when it comes to love. For example, people could go by jealousy and all of that, just because they see their partners are being friendly for their friends and all of that. We think this is a very good example on how love could sway you from irrationality. And we think in a world that OG offer you, it will only create chaos for each and every romantic relationship happening in this world, because there will be no understanding, there will be no partnership. It will only support the ego of one person. I'm going to take the POI. 3, 2, 1. Okay.
I think that you're playing in the very extreme case, like someone who got mental issue, because no matter what, in the end of the day, they will go to someone to talk. What if your partner know that you have that problem from the psychiatrist, for example, but you never told her in the first place? Why that's good?
There must be a consideration about that. And we think to push people, to confront people, to tell the truth right away, it will be even more cruel. Talking about people with mental illness, it's not talking about, we're not talking about people who have the capability of like handling the pressure in the same way of people that grow up in a healthy mental lifestyle, for example. So we think even though you lie for this kind of thing, we think it's totally fine, because in the end, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But this harm would happen on your side of the house as well, on the government side of house as well. There will be someone hurting in the relationship, and we think this is something that is undeniable. In the end, pain will still exist even in the government side, but in our side, you will get more benefit in this, because in the end, there is understanding, and people are not going to put ego, because as I say, people in the relationship are oftenly swayed away by their feeling, their rationality is being swayed away by love, and because of that, people are putting their ego more and more instead of like trying to understand the people in the relationship as well. So we think that some lies are okay, and we think in the relationship some lies are actually needed, because there are a lot of examples and people are really a complex human being, and if in the end the lie brings it harm, we say it is okay, because at least we give people chance to be understanding, to be patient, and to put more in the partnership rather to put their ego. And that's why we're going to win in this debate. Vote for the opposite.
All right, thank you so much for that speech. To open the closing half, welcome member of Gov over here.
Check. Wait a minute. My gender preference is I don't have gender preference. My POI preference is through unmuting yourself. Wait a second for me to set my timer, please.
All right. Are you able to turn on your camera?
Yeah, and also my whip need to go to the bathroom like real quick. Is that okay?
Sure. We'll give you 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much.
If anyone else wants to go to the restroom, now is the time, man. CG, tell us when you're back.
Sure.
CG, you back?
Yep, she's back.
Okay. Please start.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, you cannot build a strong relationship without honesty, right? We think that even your white lies and sugarcoat is just a mere of illusion. We don't support that, right? Three framing in this debate. First, I think that that expectation cannot be controlled in both sides of the house. However altruistic you are, I think like you must have an expectation to your partner, because I think that you know that relationship should be reciprocal and so on, right? Second, I think that the probability of you to break up with your partner is still happen in both sides of the house. The thing is, when the breakup happen, we say that the resentment will linger in opposition bands of the house even longer, and the sense of release will happen more in our side of the house. Third, we say that the couples will fight in both sides of the house, right? Because fight is unpreventable. This makes the relationship sooner even. In fact, we will normalize this confrontation as something good rather than something that we must avoid in opposition bands of the house. What makes CG better than opening debate? First, I think OG cares about the importance of honesty on how it creates better support, trust, and evaluation. It's not exclusive. exclusive, because as CG we say that this benefit only exclusive if we can prove to you why the comparative is worse in opposition side of the house. We justify white lies, which is what we oppose, right? Second, CG will recognize this benefit further in our side of the house. We say that stability and evaluation will only exist if couples can be rational, that to take criticism, right? In worst case scenario, maybe this brutal honestly can manifest into pointing out flaws on our partner or telling them that we don't like about them, for example, like I don't like how you dress and so on. We said that this is good for a better evaluation of both sides of both parties, and will prove to you the likelihood on how the couples will react to this in irrational manner. Jump to my arguments and rebuttal will be intertwined. First, I will talk about why white lies are harmful, and second, I'm going to clash about understanding, and third, I will engage the worst scenario that probably happen in our side of the house, right? First, why white lies are harmful. As CG, we must say that in status quo, the context that happened is that white lies are being overly normalized in social media. That's an over-glorification of white lies that makes people severely irrational in status quo. They are blinded by love to justify certain behavior of their partner. That's why couples try to avoid confrontation by justifying white lies. Unlike OO claim that when you are loving someone so much, you're likely to push your ego to the border, or like you're creating some certain of like you really confront them in like by screaming or yelling. We don't think that's true, because when you love someone, you're trying to like keep your ego and like do whatever you want to do whatever it needs for you for them to love you. Like you're being so bucin irrationally, right? Why is it problematic? The problem with white lies is repression. You know that you don't like something about your partner, for instance. You don't like if they spend too much time with their friends instead of or like focusing too much on their business instead of like having quality time with you. What will happen in your position side of the house is that you'll try to justify your partner in the name of love. You'll be very irrational to justify it, even when you know that deep inside of yourself you want that attention so much. You don't like how your partner hurt you or like tell you it's like how beautiful you are or whatsoever. Like this manifests into invalidation. You invalidate your feeling for the sake of justifying your partner's decision. This might be fine in short term, I think, that the concern is how it will impact you in the long term, because like what opening band said before is that both side of the house want to have like sustainable relationship and so on and so forth. We don't think like sustainable relationship is the most important parameter. Is the important parameter in this debate is that how you can enjoy your relationship, how the quality of your relationship can be hold better. We are afraid that it will repress your emotion too much. It will be an accumulation of negative emotion that at the end of the day you will burst out in this of you hating yourself, and therefore you are stuck in depression or like anxiety or even like trust issue to get it into another relationship, right? We say this harm is more important than OG because we are not playing in an extreme scenario such as toxic relationship. We say that even in moderate scenario, this white lies is toxic in the long term. In long term, let's engage to OO worst case about mental illness, and right, we think that yes. Yes, I think that mental illness can be happen, but I don't think that suddenly when you know exactly that your partner having mental illness, you suddenly irrationally confront them that extreme by yelling or screaming. I think that just because you internalize radical honesty doesn't mean you justify yourself to become cruel and not be assertive to the partner. You will still love them. You will still rational yourself, and please. Panels differentiate between anger and honestly. This is the different debate about it, right? And a second thing I will talk about understanding on clash between OO, right? OO is understanding is when you know that your partner without having had to hide yourself. And like what OO claim, like I said before, when you love someone, it's unlikely for you to be egoist. Rather, you tend to you love them no matter what and whatever flaws that they have. What will happen in their side of the house? You try to hide yourself too, right? Because you're afraid that when you show your true color, for example, by being witty and opinionated, you're afraid that your partner will reject your true color. Because, for example, in the scenario that toxic masculinity probably don't like having girls who's like very witty and opinionated about what they feel. They want to like a very submissive girlfriend, for example. Your relationship will not build on the basis on understanding, right? I think rather it will build based on perfect illusion, like what Lady Gaga said. Hide yourself because you're afraid of losing them and irrationally love them, right? I think it's better for you to be brutally honest. For example, what's like to know what's your partner body counts and in the most extreme scenario, because at least you spend your life with the partner that can accept you regardless of what kind of whatever background that you have. It means that the comparative is better in CG because we have better sustainability in relationship. Is that what we want to propose? We know that the good and we know the good and even the bad of our partners since the early stage. We can learn to accept it in the long term because we already understand how hard it is to experience a hurdle with our partner, that we experience like a lot of confrontation, but it's the thing that what makes our relation stronger, because we know that we can face any kind of hurdle from external level when we already have a strong foundation from within our relationship. Engagement, the worst case scenario will be explained by my partner. Very proud to propose this motion.
Thank you so much for that speech. To open the case from CO, we welcome member of OP. You're here.
Hello, am I audible?
Yep, you're audible.
Okay, if you want to POI, please just type it in the chat box. Okay. Prefer gender pronounce she or her. I'll start my speech in 3, 2, wait, sorry. In 3, 2, 1. The opening debate plays in a very extreme scenario, right? That both sides suddenly have no understanding, that both sides suddenly, doesn't conceive each other and don't understand each other. They play in a very extreme cases, right? CEO will come with a more grounded approach, right? We will tell you a more urgent matter. It's not about people can be honest or not, because it's not about the time, because we think that when you can be brutally honest, later on, for example, when you see your partner is when they're ready, we think that is mutually exclusive, right? But the difference is the difference is here, we think that the most urgent matter here is if people can receive the honesty or not, right? Who will be the most contributive team in this debate, right? We tell you what will happen within the relationship. We tell you why then the white lies and all these things are necessary. And lastly, why the norm of encouraging is harmful. We think that all these is a prerequisite to what opposition has brought to you, right? But a clarification, a few characterization before I move on, right? We think that under our side, we're not saying that we suddenly support lies. What Gov have misunderstood is that honesty exists under both sides of the house. The delta is how you deliver it. The difference is how you deliver the truth itself, right? Or maybe to a certain extent, white lies, right? It's not suddenly that, what government has tries to tell you that, there will be no discussion, you will not know what your partner is up to. Those things will not happen, those things will still happen, but the delta is how you deliver it, how you sugarcoat it, that will be different under our side of the house, right? So this means that discussion will still happen under our side. This means that telling your feelings to the other person will still happen under our side of the house, right? There's something that is mutually exclusive, right? So a few rebuttals towards the government side of the house, right? First, that they tell you that, you will accept your partner no matter what. It is a very healthy discussion, etc. Right? Because no matter how much you are with your partner, no matter how perfect you are with your partner, even though you don't have the intention to hurt the other person, the brutal honesty or radical honesty, the ugly truth will always hurt, right? The fact that it is uncomfortable is something that can hurt the other person, right? The fact that it is something that, people are uncomfortable with, the fact that, this is something that probably will hurt the other person, no matter how, much you are, no matter how you don't have intention to hurt the other person, it will still hurt the other person exactly because that person might not accept it in a way that it is good, right? This shows to you that this is how the healthy discussion cannot be led, right? Because most likely when the person has already heard from the other person the brutal truth or the radical truth, most likely they're already heard, right? They don't want to engage in more discussion because they feel like they're being wrong, for example, right? They're putting a lot of burden towards themselves because they feel like it is their fault for making their partner feel that way, right? But then when this happens, this is when you're gonna create the discussion in the very first place because they don't want to engage in it anyways because they feel like it's their fault or they feel like it is something that that is their fault for hurting the other person. But then this is when it cannot happen, right? But we think when it comes to check and balances and evaluation, we think that it can happen under both sides of the house, right? But then when this happens, this is when under our side of the house, at the very least, it comes with love, right? It comes with sugarcoating that is more acceptable, more palatable for the other partner to then actually digest it, right? Which we will later explain with the examples. But we think when the whole government start to tell you that, oh yeah, you will accept your partner, etc. Those things can still exist, but under our set, it will be much more gradual, right? Just suddenly you tell your partner, for example, what CG tell, oh yeah, for example, the body count, etc., etc. It will be much more gradual. It will be much more slower, even. Like for example, you will tell it gradually, maybe in this one time you tell a small thing about it, and then you just leave it and you package it in a way that it's beautiful, so that your partner is not going to be hurt as much, right? Because when this happens, this is when it will be much more ideal under our self-defense, right? So a few characterizations then on what romantic relationship is, because we think it's missing on all batches, right? But when it comes to romantic relationship, we're talking about safe space, right? We're talking about someone that you trust. You're talking about someone that you love. This is someone that you tell the first good news to or bad news to, right? But when this happens, this is when romantic relationship plays a huge part in someone's life, right? This is someone probably that is so important to them, right? So why is this harmful when you encourage the norm of radical honesty in romantic relationship itself, right? But in one, this can lead to justification, right? To people to serve their self-interest under the reason of being brutally honest, right? This is when it becomes harmful, right? Exactly because it is not the norm to be brutally honest. I'm just gonna be honest with you no matter what, right? They don't think about the other person, because then I'm not being brutally honest, right? Then I'm not giving the full truth to the other person. You won't think as much about the other person's feeling, exactly because you want to serve your self-interest of like, I want to be honest, I want to be seen as an ideal partner that is brutally honest, right? But then this is when it becomes harmful, right? When you don't consider the feeling of the other person for you to serve your self-interest of like, being the quote-unquote good partner, exactly because that's what the society has been telling you that this is something that's normal, right? But then this happens, this is when it becomes very toxic, right? This is the process analysis that's missing in the opening debate, right? But then when this happens, this is when people are not able then to feel comfortable around that partner, because for example, they're afraid that that their partner will tell something bad to them, so most likely they're just going to hold back those things, right? But then when this happens, this is when the relationship is not going to be a healthy one, exactly because you're not thinking about the other person, you serve your own interest. But secondly, why then the sweet small talks, why then the white lies, why then the sugarcoating is important, right? For example, when you're saying, oh, you're the most beautiful person, or like you can win next time, when you objectively know they cannot win next time, for example, right? These are the things that keep the relationship special, right? These are the things that keep the relationship going. This is how then you still have hope with your partner, how your partner can support you. So if you were talking about support, like what opening has been telling you, within it happens better on support, right? Exactly because these small talks are the things that, oh, your partner is supporting you, oh, your partner is having hope in you. These are the small things that keep a person going in their personal life that is not even with something that's related to the relationship. But then this is how you can create better cooperation, right? Exactly because, oh yeah, objectively they're not going to, for example, excel next time, but then you tell them that, oh, you can win next time, I trust in you, we think that, oh, you will slay next time, for example, etc. Those things objectively might not happen, but we think that is something that is important for someone, for example, that has been going through a hard time, exactly because romantic relationship is a safe space, right? We think this is how we should keep it that way, right? But lastly, why is the norm of encouraging is harmful, right? We think when it becomes a norm of you encouraging other people, we think that people will feel guilty, right? When they know, for example, their partner is sensitive to like this brutal truth, for example, but when they try to hold back these truths, or when they try to sugarcoat these things, people will just blame them, right, for not being a good partner because you're not being brutally honest. We think that this will be harmful for both parties, right? Not only the person, for example, who's sensitive of receiving the honesty or is having a hard time receiving the honesty. Not only that they get hurt, but if but the person that is saying it also will feel guilty, right? Because then, for example, if they don't say the truth, then they will be blamed by society. But if they do say the truth, then the partner will be very hurt, right? We think that this puts them in a position where they are, they feel like they're always wrong whatever they do. We think when this happens, this is when the norm is not actually the norm of encouraging this is very, very harmful, right? Exactly because it's a case by case scenario in which people are not able to then receive the whole truth. Not everyone can receive it this way. We think when this all happens, this is when under our side of the house, at least not giving out the good truth, or maybe giving some white lies, maybe giving some sugarcoating. This is how this relationship can be sustainable. At the very least, can be more understanding. At the very least, under our side, the people will not feel guilty when they want to protect the feeling of their partner without being said so proud to oppose.
Thank you so much for that speech. To close the case from the government side.
Check. Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, you're audible but not visible.
Okay, wait. Okay, let me set my timer first.
Yep, you may begin whenever you want.
I preference through chat box. So, okay. I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. The problem with OG is that they never explain how, even if like they in the very worst case, this relationship will lead into broke up. Why when we doing this brutal honest, why it is okay when the relationship is leads to broke up. This is only explained in our side of the house, because we say that even though we broke up, even though like the relationship's getting worse, at least we have valid reasons knowing the truth, instead of always wondering what caused the breakup itself. This is because there's radical honesty, which allow us to know the reasons of the breakup. With that honest reasons, we can also use it as a learning experience for our future relationships. We can also use it to be better, to looking for other partner in the future, for example. So in opposition side of the house, we break up, but we never know why. We also never always wonder like why we will still like trapped in the past, never wonder why we broke up itself. But secondly, why we are already than OG. I think the case that OG said about prevent toxic relationship, it will create evaluation, explain the evaluation and only in the present, I will only solve the present relationship that, for example, that you do in that time. Meanwhile, in our side of the house, we explain more, the impact in long term more rather than in only in a present. We already explained that how the honest criticism for our partner will be a motivations for them to be a better person in the future, to be know what kind of relationship that you want in the future. So it will create you more better as a better person and in the future. Some of engagement toward opposition bench. First, I'm going to engage to CO first. CO say that how it will say that how the white lies itself, the white lies itself, it will help them to create more good discussions. For example, they still want to evaluate their partners, but in slower like in step by step to with white lies, with not like directly brutally honest to their partners. We think that exactly because of that. We think that exactly because of what you say, like tell your partners like in the step by step. We think that it will solve the problem as soon as possible, because if you are being honest like in the slow movement, like only like step by step, you want to, meanwhile you really want to express all your grievances to your partners, but you cannot say like directly all you cannot directly saying it to your partner. We think that it will not gonna make the relationship even better, because what will you do is you will only like delay all the grievances that you want to express to your partners. In that what you do is just trying to wait until your partner like in the for example, to tell all the grievances. And what will gonna be happen in the situations? First, it will affect to other people, because in opposition of the house, you will throw all your burdens about your relationship to your friends, rather than you to directly address your issue to your partners. Your problem within the problem itself will never be solved anyways, because the goals that you want in your partner won't be achieved, because you will always stuck in the same ground with your partners, stuck in the same grievance that you will never express to your partners. Context that people's separation can happen in both sides of the house. I think it's better for you to have like closure over your separation, of what reasons my partner leave me, why of my partner leave me. We think that this is used to evaluate yourself, right, and vice versa. So in the next relationship, you can learn something from your prior relationship on how you will treat your future partner better. And comparatively, in the house, the thing that likely happens to your partner is that your partner leave you without anything to be thought, without the reasons why, or even they give you like something in goodbye, like it will be as trivial as oh, I broke up with you because I want to focus on my study, for example. So we think that there's nothing that you can learn from it. There's nothing that you can know the exact reasons why your partners leave you, and you will never know what your fault at the end of the day. Like, let's engage in our case scenario when even if they are brutally honest and criticizing each other, we say that this is good because this means that it will be normalized in outside of the house because they will continuously become honest with their partners. This is also good because they know what to fix from themselves so they can sustain the relationships like in the long term. Opposition might say that this honesty will cause more insecurity, will cause more verbally abuse, for example, but we don't think so because instead of this, it will be like a motivation for them to be a better version of themselves. With white lies, we think that in opposition's bench of the house, you just justify your partner's flaws. You just justify anything what they do, even if like it hurts you, even if like you feel like you didn't feel comfortable with it. You just justify it. This means that you will get bored with the same version. But in CG, both couples will always be like motivated to be better. So we don't think that they will suddenly feel uncomfortable with it when they are trying to being honest. They will be rational and learn to accept the criticism of what their partners do to them. Because in opposition of the house, what they do is they will only like walk away from that the moment when your partners like do confrontation to you. What they do is just like walk away without any trying to accept it, without trying to like evaluate yourself from the what you just do is just like an anti-critic, no incentive to develop themselves, which is the purpose of relationship to be compromised will never be happen in their side of the house. Lastly, they also talk about oppositions talk about that they want to they do like white lies because people will able to control themselves. They want to like take a step back when they are in emotional to their partners. But then that by doing step back will solve the problem, because when you are doing step back means that you just give them your partner silent treatment. You never tell them what is actually you feel about them, your grievance about them. So we think that silent take the step back or silent treatment will not gonna be solve the problem compared to us when we just like directly say to the grievance to our partner. So this problem will solve better in our side of the house. So for all this reason, we proud you purpose. Thank you.
Thanks for that speech. To close the whole debate and CO's case, we welcome Obweb. Here. Upweb.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes.
Okay, what's up? Gender pronouns, he or him. POI preference is just through raise hand. Do not use chat because I will not read that. Do not unmute again. I mute because it's disturbing. So just press your hand. And without any further ado, without any further ado, I'll starting my. Okay, without any further ado, I'll starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Within the opening debate, most likely they are started talking about what is the harms and the benefit that will happen when we have this radical honesty and so on and so forth, right? But none of this them are started talking about what will happen when it's become the norms that everyone encouraging it. What will happen to the society as an average reasonable person? What will happen when we are trying to using it, normalizing it, and so on and so forth when we have this radical honesty in the very first place, right? That's why within the artists in the opening debate, they have already misled into what the BOP that they need to answer in the very first place, right? Within the closing government, most of the time they are being derivative with what the opening government have already brought in the debate, right? For example, they're talking about how actually the evaluation is very important. Well, the idea of evaluation exists in the opening government, talking about how social media and so on and so forth. It also happens in the opening government. So within the actually this is very derivative, right? But let's try to engage anyway towards the closing government. Two things that we hear from the closing government. First, they talk the goals that is coming from the closing government that makes them that is being their identity is about how we want the romantic relationship can be enjoyed during the process and so on and so forth, right? To respond to this, number one, we say that actually this is completely untrue, right? Because you will then even enjoying the process when you are having the romantic relationship when everyone is always be revealed the truth, the fact, and so on and so forth, right? This look like, for example, when you have still in PDKT or you are make the girl become your girlfriend and so on and so forth. The most important for you is not about the feeling, it's about the transitions of the feeling, the emotion, and so on and so forth. But what you are trying to care in here is about the truth, right? Which this is completely doesn't make any sense, because when you have a romantic relationship, what is important and what is very needed in the very first place is about the comfortability of self-space. You want to knowing about the feeling between one each other and so on and so forth. It's about dynamic between you and your partner and so on and so forth. It's not always about the truth, the fact, and so on and so forth that is being revealed in the opening government and closing government to some degree, right? Second, sure, for example, we can, let's try to understand that most of the time when you are trying to reveal the fact, for example, maybe you are have a relationship but you don't like it because maybe you are fat, trigger warning, maybe you are fat, you are not you are ugly, for example, or you are not fit with the beauty standard and so on and so forth, right? Most of the time they will try to reveal it because of you have to become radical honesty and so on and so forth. And this is could be hurt one of your spouse, for example, because what happens under the government of the house, basically you always have to become radical honest. You have to always feeling, given whatever you want, you feel with the things that you had and so on and so forth. We don't even try to think what they will be feeling, how they will try to receive it in the very first place. And that's why this is very hard under the opening under closing government to begin with, right? That's why we can adjust the enjoying process, the goal that they want or the goal that they want, the goal that they aim in the very first place, it cannot be happens under the of host. Even if, for example, that the argumentation about the system is true, within the actually both sides are being can be happens. This is a symmetrical thing because under the host, the system can be happens anyway, right? The difference is on us. We think that the romantic relationship should will not be have a norm that everyone have to do like that, but everything or every romantic relationship should be based on this individual in the very first place, right? Some of individual maybe want to reveal the truth, but some individual maybe want to prioritize on the emotions, right? This is how the ideal relationship look like under the closing opposition, because that's exactly how the relationship have to be in the very first place. That's why this argumentation cannot be run in the closing government. Plus, lastly, talking about the difference under the closing government is they're talking about how actually we don't know why we, for example, break up with our relationship and so on and so forth, right? Within that, actually, this is completely important because this is not what happens, because every time you are trying to break up and so on and so forth, you always try to reveal why you want to do that and so on and so forth, right? Sure, maybe under the host, these people are trying to reveal the breakup, reveal the reason is with sugarcoating, with white lie and so on and so forth, but this is completely fine, right? Because the evaluation has to be happens anyway, because you try to understand what are the reasons of it. You're trying to see that actually, yeah, maybe he or she doesn't like me anymore. Is because I'm not fit with the beauty standard and so on and so forth. This can become evaluation as well under the host, right? That's why it's some benefit from the government side of the host to some degree actually be applied under the host. That's why within actually this argumentation can be running also in closing government. Lastly, they're talking about how actually they want to the closer in the relationship, right? Within that actually if you want to closer, it will be much better under the host, because exactly that's the purpose when we have this common this sugarcoat and so on and so forth, right? Because you will get this closer and so on and so forth. And sure, to some point, maybe this is illusion. Maybe this is something that I just not just only a hope, only a word and so on and so forth. But this is a very valuable word, because exactly that's your self-space who's speaking like that. That's your self-space who give your support, and that's why you get the motivation to keep up even you are in a worse condition and so on and so forth, right? That's why the illusions that being portrayed in CG like bad and something is very important under the self host. That's why this is very important, still better under self host, right? Yes, your eye from OG.
I think that when you say that it is going to be an option for people whether they want to do this norm or not, I think that these people is less likely to go to the option that we provide, because when they do that, they will be seen as someone who are evil. Understand why under the house it is still likely to happen to do that criticism.
I think actually this is what I want to respond towards the opening government, right? So in the opening government, they're talking about how actually the relationship is very toxic and so on and so forth. People wouldn't want to opt in into the radical honesty because of this not norm and so on and so forth, right? Within that, actually this is completely doesn't make any sense, right? Exactly within that, in current status quo, people is talking at each other. People are communicating each other, because within a romantic relationship, it's not only just like perceiving and taking and so on and so forth, right? We're always communicating whatever we feel like it's not whatever we feel like discomfort and so on and so forth, right? The difference is how we try to deliver it in the very first place, how we want to expect that this one who receive our truth in the very first place can take it very smoothly, can take it very gently, can take it without hard feeling and so on and so forth, right? This is coming why it's very important to understand the host in the very first place. If we are talking about people who will not try to opt in, we think that I think this is very based on how they want to perceive their romantic relationship, right? Because exactly when you are do romantic relationship, you always communicate, you always try to understand, you always try to communicate that what the ideal romantic relationship that we want in the very first place, right? This should be free for individual in the very first place. Continuing about the, even if, for example, that sure, maybe this is toxic relationship or something like that, we think that I think this is a completely fine under the host, because basically people are still want to opt in into the romantic relationship. What will happen in the opening government to be fair, is basically a lot of the people will try to thinking that relationship is very bad. A lot of the people who always have a criteria that actually you want to always have the spouse that is very beauty, smart, wealthy people, and so on and so forth, right? But the fact we cannot always have this kind of criteria, right? We cannot always accept these people and so on and so forth. And people will think that actually this romantic relationship is always be only for the privileged one who have the wealthy and so on and so forth, because of they are the target for the other people and so on and so forth, right? Under the host, the moment they actually have this lie and so on and so forth, this is completely fine, right? Because people try to accept it, take time and so on and so forth. It's always be start from lying to accept them, but you will try to understand why they are being like that, why to some degree maybe they are loyal person and so on and so forth. So this is completely fine. Without this is only probably to oppose this motion. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much for that speech, and thank you everyone for the wonderful debate. This is a silent round, so everyone please leave the breakout room. And committee